Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Men number 85, cover dated late February 1999. The cover is by Alan Davis. Alan Davis coming on board now as regular penciler on the title after the fill-in stint by Adam Kubert. The cover corner box still features the headshots of current members of the X-Men by Kubert, but this is a really fantastic dynamic cover by Alan Davis, trumpeting his arrival on the title, and I'm sure that many fans were excited back in the late 90s for the arrival of Davis on the book. And the cover caption is "On the eve of the Magneto War, Crucible of Fire." So after the hunt for Xavier, the focus switches to Magneto, who, it's been revealed, is back since Uncanny X-Men issue 350. So there's a mystery there in terms of the identity of Joseph, and that is all going to get dealt with in the course of this next event storyline, the Magneto War. The cover itself, as I've said, excellent one by Alan Davis, inked by Mark Farmer. There's no credit that I could find for the colorist, but I think it's the interior colorist Liquid. And let's open this one up to the first page. And there are 23 pages of story and art in this issue. So we've got an 8-panel grid there to begin with. It is broken in the bottom 8th panel by a close-up on Magneto's helmeted face. But here we've got various snapshots from around the world, and there are various aspects of humanity that are represented, whether it's war, whether it is an oil leakage in some ocean that's killing the fish there, to a murder here, to a space shuttle liftoff, to hunger in Africa. And it is Magneto, and he's reflecting on humanity. Before the excrescence, is what he calls humanity, is removed forever, I must run one final test. So what could his final test be? Well, let's turn the page, and we see that he's been using his powers to turn this center for humanitarian excellence upside down. So the architect is here. He's absolutely aghast. My beautiful building upside down. It's incomprehensible. She's earthquake proof, hurricane proof, riot proof. She was going to stand for 1,000 years. My masterpiece. So the setting for this portion of the story is Los Angeles. Another portion of the story will be set in New York City. And so we're going to have a West Coast, East Coast, counterpointing stories in the course of this particular issue. So the foreman of the building site comes over to the architect. Hey, listen, Walter, I'm going to send the guys home. Maybe you'd better call it a day too. We're not going to flip her over today, right? And watching all of this with the purple colored dialogue boxes is Magneto, and he has made an examination, an investigation into the foreman. William Jones, he says, is a man of average education who found average employment with an average construction company. His wife, both of average breeding and appearance, has borne him 2 average children, with a third yet on the way, typical for his family in his average suburb. So you can hear the condescension dripping there in Magneto's thinking about William Jones. Bill reads the sports page before the Metro section, but pays special attention to world events that frighten him. Steak and potatoes twice a week, 1 beer with the news every evening. In every way, Bill is representative of the national average. He is one of millions who live and die by a time clock, his children's chorus recitals, and professional wrestling. So Bill is wondering at what he's looking at. Craziest blasted thing I ever saw. Maybe it was Muties. And coming into the frame is Magneto in civilian garb, in a white jacket with a white tie and blue shirt, and he is going to place the chance and responsibility for his future actions on the shoulders of this average blue-collar worker, William Jones. Today, Bill Jones determines whether humanity lives or dies. So he introduces himself with a smile there as Magnus. Says he's from the board, he's looking for answers. And they shake hands, and Bill replies, well, I can't guarantee I've got them, Mr. Magnus, but if you're buying the coffee, I'll do what I can to make some up for you. Excellent, says Magneto in reply. So Bill has a bit of a sense of humor there. Of course, you'd have to have one working on a construction site. And we're into the story. Excellent art, of course, from Alan Davis. I'll comment a little bit more on his art subsequently, and then we get our splash page. So here it is. A Tale of Two Mutants is the name of the story. Like I told you, the scene switches to Manhattan. And by the way, you can see here from the colouring on Colossus in particular that I'm pretty certain that this is that Liquid is responsible for the cover colouring as well. But here are the credits for this interior story, Joe Kelly and Alan Davis storytellers. So the implication is, I think, that Alan Davis is co-plotting this, but it could be by virtue of the fact that they're working Marvel method. Subsequently, Alan Davis gets an explicit plotting credit for upcoming issues, so maybe he was providing the plot here, and Joe Kelly simply scripting the pages as they came in from Davis. In any case, this is Joe Kelly's last issue of Adjectiveless X-Men as writer, as scripter, and it really was quite the journey from an original plan to focus in on mutants the likes of Marrow and others, and then to have editorial come in and take over and put him in the direction of stories like Hunt for Xavier, etc., etc. And he's had enough, and after this particular issue, he's gone. The rest of the creative team: Mark Farmer, longtime Alan Davis inker on inks. Liquid there, Liquid Graphics on the digital colours, and Richard Starkings and Comicraft Emerson Miranda on the digital lettering. So Colossus there asked the question, in case you were wondering, Tovarish meaning comrade, 3 floors of collapsing hospital are as heavy as they look. Could you hurry, Wolverine? And Wolverine responds, don't get your tin tights in a twist, Colossus. It'll just be a sniff sniff. Storm, more this way, little ones. So Storm is the leader of this particular group of X-Men. Stand firm, X-Men, she exclaims, I will clear a path. So what is going on here? Are the X-Men on a rescue mission? Let's turn the page and find out. But very cool splash page here. You can see once again how, in effect, this is chiming with the cover and the cover situation. And so it seems, yes, indeed, there's a rescue operation ongoing. And Rogue is involved here. She is whisking away adults and children. I'm going to evac these happy campers to the street, Storm. You all right, she asks. And Storm replies, yes, send Kitty down to replace you, Rogue. Take a deep breath, my friends. The air's about to get very thin in this corridor. So she whips up a hurricane wind to smother the flames. And again, a little bit of banter here between these old teammates. Colossus and Wolverine wouldn't want the littlest X-Men to go to be blown down, go boom. Doesn't sound like Colossus at all. But again, that's a comment I've made many times in relation to Joe Kelly's scripting, that sometimes, in my opinion, he gets the voices of the characters wrong. And Wolverine replies, go rust yourself, Tin Man. And then arrives Kitty Pryde and Gambit. And Storm is catching them up. Wolverine has found more survivors. Shadowcat, we may need your phasing powers. So let's continue. And then she asks Logan, does he have their scent? Ain't easy with all the medical gunk burning off in here, Row, he says. But I'd bet my chopper that our target's behind the wall, O'Debris. So the chopper there is, of course, his motorcycle. Kind of an odd comment from Wolverine. We don't normally think of him in relation to his motorcycle, but however. So Kitty phases through the wall to see what's on the other side. Kay, we need to clear about 8 feet of collapsed ceiling, she says. But some rocket scientists stacked oxygen tanks in a rescue path that will blow up if we look at them cross-eyed. Aim for me, a precision strike, Cajun. Don't miss. So he throws his kinetically charged card, using Kitty as the target. and manages to blast a clearing through that 8 feet of collapsed ceiling. And of course, Storm uses her powers also, and then they arrive at their target location, which is the incubation room for all of these newborn babies. And, you know, they're all delighted they've done it. And it is all in the name of one man's dream, my dream, declares the monologue here. So who is delivering this monologue? Turn the page. It is Professor X. And he is on a rooftop across the street looking at the hospital on fire with the emergency vehicles and units on the corner there. And in the background, bickering, are Nightcrawler and Marrow. And the professor interrupts their bickering. Please, children, he says, we still have work to do. Kurt, teleport down to the others and help them with their precious cargo. I will guide you telepathically as I've monitored your comrades. So Nightcrawler grabs Marrow. You heard the Professor Fraulein. Please return your tray tables to the upright position and prepare for takeoff. So she's upset that they're going to teleport. She hates it because if you're teleported by Nightcrawler, it upsets your stomach. I should be the proudest man on Earth, thinks the Professor. If it were not for one small detail, for the first time in a long time, I'm not sure that I still believe in my own dream. So, you know, this is a common motif of the X-Men, the Professor, sometimes wondering about his dream, particularly in the era post-Claremont, and particularly when the Professor's dream is contrasted with Magneto whenever he returns. So we got to have the Professor, and of course this is in the wake of Onslaught, in the wake of Operation Zero Tolerance. The Professor at the end of Hunt for Xavier's got his telepathy back, so we're kind of back to a status quo from a few years previous. But does the Professor still believe in his dream? Well, we'll have to wait until the end of this issue to find out. Can you guess what the answer might be? Anyway, back in Los Angeles, that's a really nice street scene shot there. The hot dog seller there as well, with the parasol. I think it's all really well done. Alan Davis not scrimping on details. And it looks like Magneto and Bill have gotten themselves some coffee. And Magneto says, he says to him, or rather it seems like Bill is saying to Magneto, that's something else, huh? The sight today. Ain't ever seen anything like that ever. And Magneto responds, yet you don't seem bothered by it. Why? So what does Bill reply? Fact is, sir, I nearly soiled myself when I saw it. But the men, I mean, half of them are immigrants, people totally new to this country. Someone's got to put on the brave face. Besides, no one was hurt. That's what matters. So, you know, this is painting Bill as a man of responsibility, a man who's open-minded regarding immigrants coming to America and pursuing and achieving the American dream. All of that kind of paints him as a little bit, I suppose one would say, in terms of political designations, a little bit liberal, despite his being a white-collar construction site foreman. Sorry, not white-collar, blue-collar. So Magneto there is watching him and thinking, yes, that's what matters. That's why I'm here. There's going to be a culling, a time of reckoning, Bill. I think I may be forced to hurt a lot of your kind unless you give me reason not to do it, unless you prove me wrong. So Magneto baits Bill here. He's tolerant about immigrants coming to the States. What about mutants? I think it was mutants, Bill, says Magneto. Filthy mutants trying to attack our tribute to human achievement. Worse, I have to believe that the mutant is someone on your crew, and I want you to help me find him. So Bill is taken aback. One of my men, a mutant. Look at Magneto smiling there. And he is delighted at the prospect that maybe Bill is going to betray bigotry against mutants, and the trap is set. Bill Jones, a man who cares deeply for his charges, has just been told that one of them is a filthy genetic freak. But how does Bill respond? With all due respect, sir, if you're asking me to finger one of my guys as a mutant terrorist, I'm not interested. Witch hunts aren't my style. So Magneto is surprised. What? I've just told you that a mutant may be in your midst, and Bill interrupts him. Mr. Magnus, I've been through Desert Storm, so the guy's a veteran, Hurricane Bob, and 10 years of the LA freeways. Little joke there. You think I'm going to freak out about mutants? This is LA, dude. He says, and even though I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared of the whole idea of mutants, don't you think I got bigger things to worry about? So it's going to be tougher than Magneto thought, finding an average Joe on whom to scapegoat the triggering of his dastardly plans. And what are they? Well, we go to the North Pole, and we have these Magneto-constructed automatons that are gliding silently on the invisible magnetic currents that bathe the Earth, traveling thousands upon thousands of miles until they reach their destination. Which is the magnetic North Pole. So one of the drones here says, engage substructure configuration. And then, we got to have the religious language here, which of course is conveys Magneto as a type of religious zealot cult leader in respect of his ideology of mutant supremacy. His will be done, Magnus Rex. Rex, of course, is the Latin for king. Great king is what that means, Magnus Rex. Now, so then we get this digital coloring effect here. I think it works very well. And then we're back to Manhattan and the burning hospital. And outside, of course, are the human first responders or emergency services, including the fire brigade and the police, the NYPD. And the one in charge is Commander Rhodes. That's her there. Commander Rhodes says, one of the police officers, I cannot in good conscience send my men near that building when there are muties about. And Rhodes responds, you make me sick, frightened of freaks. Get your men in position or get new jobs. This is the 5th case of arson at a hospital on the East Coast in a month. It ends here and now. So that's interesting. So we get the cause of the fire. And all the while, Professor X is monologuing, scanning the minds of the gathered police officers below. I find that the world I've returned to is even worse than I remember it. So that's a trope of the X-Men comics. The prejudice is always becoming worse. And the question always is the future of Days of Future Past, the dystopian 2013, is that where things are going? Mutant genocide. So that's what the professor is thinking. Things are getting worse. These are humanity's protectors, our guardians. But the sacrifices of my X-Men have no effect on them, no matter how we try. So Colossus smashes through the front of the building. He's got a baby cradled in the crook of his arm. And the other X-Men arrive out as well. And of course, all of the police point their guns at them. We are still monsters to them, thinks the professor, still met with hostility, prejudice, and violence, such violence. And then we transition back to Magneto in LA. Everyone hates mutants, Mr. Jones, he says. Everyone, you do not have to lie to me. So again, he's trying to get Jones to admit to harboring prejudice against mutants. Again, I really like Davis's work here on the civilians on the street, including this guy with his wild mohawk there, and even the little detail of this boy with his fishing rod as well. It's good stuff. So Bill responds, Mr. Magnus, you trying to recruit me for a cult or something? No, I just want to know how you honestly feel, says Magneto. I promise you this will not affect your job standing. And Bill responds, look, put it this way, I wouldn't want to run into the jerk who can lift a building off her foundations and play Twister with it, but I've nothing against them in general. They're just poor slobs who got genetically shafted, you ask me. So Magneto is taken aback. Is it possible, he thinks? Could this most mundane of specimens truly have the capacity to see beyond blind hatred of my kind? There must be more to it. So he continues fishing here And what of that genetic misfortune, Bill, he asks. Can you imagine the anguish, the fear of discovery by friends and family, of being hunted like an animal by Operation Zero Tolerance, all because you were born with something more than an ordinary man? And what if one of them decided to strike back? What if there was a mutant out there who could kill you and yours with but a thought? So Bill is getting upset. Mr. Magnus, did you just threaten my family? And Magneto responds, no, of course not. I'm simply asking you a hypothetical question. And Bill responds, I don't like hypotheticals, Mr. Magnus. We don't live in a hypothetical world. If you're trying to get to something, just get to it already. So Magneto, he's got him riled up. He thinks he's going to land the fish he wants. It's just a question, Mr. Jones. Are you afraid of how you might answer? And so Jones continues, look, don't you want to talk about the building in time, says Magneto. Right now I need to know your feelings about. Jones cuts him off. But see, your question's not fair. I mean, you bring up a guy's family, he's apt to get defensive, not think straight. You want to figure somebody out with the question game, you have to be more subtle. So Magneto's intrigued. How so? And Bill responds, well, like this. This is an old one. If you could go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby, would you do it? And this is intriguing. I mean, you bring up a guy's family, he's apt to get defensive. And Bill doesn't know who he's asking this question of. Magneto having been an inmate of the concentration camp Auschwitz, and his family, his parents, having been killed by the Nazis at the concentration camp. So look at this. Look at the ice on the speech balloon. His paws, and just look at the darkness of his eyes as well. See, not so easy when the answer's not black and white, says Bill. You're wrong, Mr. Jones. It's not a difficult question at all, replies Magneto. The answer is yes. To save millions of lives, I would track the child down at his home and smother him where he lay. Then I would destroy his family, his family's family. I would raze an entire city to the ground and scour his ashes from the earth. He rages. So that's a great expressive face there by Davis that he's come up with. You can just see Magneto's eyes popping there, his teeth gritted, really well done. And is he going to... And also you can see here the look on Jones's face as well as he kind of pulls back from Magneto. Magneto's about to explode. But the scene switches to the Arctic Circle. And thank goodness Joe Kelly held back on the words here. So we just get to look at Davis's storytelling. We have this automaton constructing this machine. It is done, the automaton says. Safe for your word, my master. So we're waiting on Magneto to give the go to it. And here we have the various issues involved in this Magneto war advertised here. And let's see, is this the right page here? Yes. So then we go back to Manhattan and the professor, and he's wondering about what to do next because the X-Men are in a standoff with the NYPD, and the professor's thinking, it always comes to this, my X-Men trying their best, but inevitably reviled by frightened humans pointing guns, blood boiling with fear. So Rhodes exclaims, they're holding newborns, put them down. And Colossus here is confused. Are they mad? We're holding babies. Just keep your bodies between the kids and their rifles. This may sting a bit, says Wolverine. He's expecting them to shoot. So one of the subordinates asks the commander, what do we do? We can't shoot at them, not while they're cradling children. I think the speech balloons are the wrong way around here. I think this is supposed to be Commander Rhodes' hands here, holding the handgun. So this speech balloon should come first from this guy, and then she saying this in response. Let's turn the page. And the professor makes a decision. So we see his astral form emerge from his body. My X-Men are pinned, he thinks. No way to set up a workable defense before the police start shooting. The children would surely die if I do not intervene. To think I actually vowed never to do this again, but the world was not made for such things. So he tells the X-Men to stand down, but Storm, who is leader, has a different idea. No, Professor, not yet. And so she walks forward despite Nightcrawler's surprise and concern. Officers, we are the X-Men, she says, and we are here to save your children. Lower your weapons. And the Professor thinks to himself, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. And then we see someone in shock back in Los Angeles. It's Bill Johnson. Sweet God Almighty, who are you? So Magneto reveals himself in full costume and regalia. It's a very cool anchor image there by Alan Davis. Would you kill me, Bill? Would you kill Magneto, mutant master of magnetism? So Bill runs, but I thought mutants didn't freak you out, Bill, says Magneto. And then we're back to New York. So we have the counterpointing, the paralleling going on between the two stories. And here in New York, Rhodes exclaims, nobody moves, do you hear me? Hand them over, lady, slowly and gently. So Storm comes forward with the two babies. And she says to the commander, the fire is spreading quickly and uncontrollably. The infants and all in the vicinity are in danger. I can do something about it, but I do not want my actions misinterpreted. Please lower your weapons. Tragedy has no place here. I can't do that, says Rhodes. If you're the X-Men, you're outlaws. How can I trust you? And Storm replies, how can you refuse to when I stand before you, with nothing between us save the barrel of your gun, trusting that you will not pull the trigger? We both want the same thing, officer. For just this once, can we put fear aside and work together for the future? So interesting, the paralleling here in terms of the question of human prejudice against mutants and two different ways to approach it. This one here, approaching with a handout and hoping for trust. This one here, where Magneto was hoping to find confirmation that there's bottomless prejudice against mutants from humans. So Bill is running from him. I just want to talk, Bill. Two men, a meeting of the minds, a philosophical debate. This is a wild situation. You were willing to chat when I was just your boss. What's happened? All I've done is reveal my true self to you. All I've done is show you my true face, Bill. The face of pain, the face of sacrifice, and it is merely one of a legion that can no longer be forced to cower in the shadows, waiting for an acceptance from our human cousins that will never come. Face your fear, my friend. Face the truth. We were meant to rule. Tell me, Bill, do you still want to share a coffee and a dirty joke? So, he's fishing, and then he gets the response he wanted from the beginning. No, I want you dead, dead, screams Bill. I really like the pumping vein there on his neck as well. That's a good little detail from Davis in the art. So Magneto got what he wanted, or did he? So let's see this page here. Thank you, Bill, he says after pausing. He's looking at him. He's weighing it up. Your honesty is appreciated. I have my answers. Even an everyman with a kind heart becomes a rabid beast at the sight of that which he does not understand. It's simply human nature. But Bill has something else to say at the end, despite his fear. No, it didn't have to be like this. You could have, if you had just said something instead of, I'm just a man, he exclaims. What choice did I have after what you did? I was scared. Not because you were a mutant, but because you're a monster. A sick and twisted monster. And there you go. Because on this page, he says, I want you dead, not I want you dead, mutie, and all other muties. He wants Magneto dead because Magneto is a monster. Magneto hears him, and he flies away, doesn't do anything to him, leaves him alive, and there's Bill watching after him. That's a great story plot in this particular issue. I think it's well handled. I think it's much more interesting than kind of like the cliched other storyline of rescuing babies from the hospital, even though it was all well drawn by Alan Davis. This part was more interesting. No more sirens, thinks the professor. No more gritted teeth and popping veins. Just the sound of the rain washing it all clean. Everywhere minds swell with relief, joy. It's almost overwhelming, but still I managed to telepathically eavesdrop. So Rhodes here is has trusted the X-Men, never been this close to a real mutant before. She says, "Get closer, officer. We do not bite," says Storm. Shake hands. Nice work. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then up top on the rooftop, the professor is up there in the rain. And he thinks at the end, the greatest part of being a teacher is learning from one's students. The dream is alive. Thank you, my X-Men. So he was wondering about the dream, but it's alive. But Magneto, he's out there, and he is en route to that tower in, well, is this the North Pole or is it the South Pole? Because he's got a fortress in Antarctica as well, so we don't have that information. And this automaton called Ferris asks Magneto what his will is. "It is a true human tragedy," Ferris says Magneto, "when a man holds salvation in his grip, but is too blind to see it. Given the chance, they'd see our kind swept from the earth. I do not want to do this, Ferris, but they've forced my hand. There can never be peace. Gather my army, Ferris. It begins." So, next, read the Magneto War, then be back here in 30 days for the origin of Joseph. So there you go. Really like the detail there of Magneto's tensed hand there, and the knuckles popping out as well on his hand. Great spotting of blacks and lighting on his face too. Really, really well done. Like the detail of the reflection of Ferris there on the side of Magneto's helmet too. Excellent, excellent work by Alan Davis. And something else I want to say about Davis's art, even it's apparent here, is if you look at his early work from the 80s on X titles such as Uncanny X-Men 213, that round 2 between Wolverine and Sabretooth, as well as, for example, Excalibur issues 1 and 2, which I reviewed recently from 1988, collaborations with Chris Claremont. You can see that in the 90s, Davis's art has developed, and he's much more inclined to give us splash pages, much more inclined to vary the shots he gives us, whether it's long shots, medium shots, or close-ups, compared to his work in the 80s, where there was a predomination of long shots and medium shots. So I was thinking before making this review video, it's almost as if he's reread his How to Draw Comics the Marvel way, and kind of leaned into John Buscema and Neil Adams for his 90s work. And so it's much more dynamic of the times, and I think it also is him responding to the popularity of the image creators and the image style as well. But it's all tempered by his absolute mastery of storytelling. So everything is always crystal clear in terms of the storytelling from Alan Davis. And there you go. There's a page of letters at the end of this issue. Nothing terribly interesting there. Things cool down and heat up in Magneto War Part 2. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary of X-Men number 85. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. In my view, this is superior to the previous issues, the Hunt for Xavier, which was pretty tedious. There is a sense of fresh energy here with Alan Davis's arrival. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.